Hello and welcome to the online FeckWrest Terry Car Championship. My name is Tom and I will be your commentator. You are currently looking at our championship leader, Sam Parker, in the Team Parker Racing Renault Megane. The final here at Brands Hatch will host the final 3 races and will decide who will take the driver's title, team's title and the independence title. The entry list then, as always, the 2 Parker Racing Renault Meganes of Darren Parker and Sam Parker. Kieran Thomas and Tom Foster have entered with their K-Tech Racing Subarus, and obviously Tom is here to fight for the overall title with Sam and Darren. Craig Kellett is back for Team Craig's, but unfortunately the Mustang is only a 1-car effort, as unfortunately Craig Hodgson is unable to make it again. So Craig is out the title fight and is out the fight for the teams, so we'll just be racing to keep involved and we'll be hopefully back next season. In the independents, we've got Callum Baker back for the final race in the Subaru WRX, fighting for the independents with Josh Hardy. He's a bit of an outsider, but could win it as it's a double points event. Mike Kuipers returns with the Ford Mustang, and then Josh Hardy, of course, is leading the independents and hopes to win that with just a few races under his belt. Hopefully he can wrap that up fairly quick. Gary Black comes back for a second round in the Subaru WRX, and of course Mark Nicol in the Golf backed Renault Megane is here for the final at Brands. Rob Pellet will be arriving a little later. Unfortunately he will be late and will miss the first race. Hopefully he'll be here for race 2 and 3 to keep the numbers up. Of course, no shows for Dalby End again. He cannot make it, as is Shane McMahon in the BMW. And the biggest no-show is, of course, the 2 VWs of Team 5 Pro Mile, Nico Clausen and Sven Slebioda. They weren't in the hunt for the team's title, and they had a bit of a struggle with those VWs back in Spa, so maybe they've gone away, thought about what they want to do for next season. Qualifying, as always, was interesting with a mixture of tyres, so here is our grid for race 1 of the final event here at Brands Hatch. Our grid is here for the first race of the final event then. Tom Foster takes another pole on the front row for K-Tech Racing in the Subaru WRX. Next to him is a great second for Mike Kuipers in the Ford Mustang. On row 2 we've got Josh Hardy in the Renault Megane, and we've got Craig Kellett in the Ford Mustang for Team Craig's. On row 3 we've got both the Parker Racings of Sam Parker and Darren Parker in the Renault Meganes. Row 4 we've got Kieran Thomas in the Subaru WRX for K-Tech Racing, Mark Nicol in the Renault Megane. On the back row of the grid we've got Callum Baker in the Subaru WRX and Gary Black in the other Subaru WRX. This is it then, the final event here at Brands Hatch, the first race of 3, and Tom is on the front row of the grid and away he goes. A little bit of wheel spin. The 3 Subarus at the back got a good start as well. Tom is well underway into the first corner, and Josh follows in second position. As we look further down, we've got the 2 Renaults in 4th and 5th, although Kieran has just overtaken Sam. So a good start for them, mid-pack, and obviously they're on the hard tyres, so they want to get this race out of the way and just gain as many points as they can. Darren at the moment is ahead of Sam, but Sam is obviously ahead of Darren in the championship. There could be some team playing games going on at some point, but with Darren not that far behind and still an outsider for contention for the overall title. Darren will still be racing and will try and pass Sam as much as he can, probably until the final race. So up ahead then, Tom has got a good lead ahead of Josh, who has got himself into a nice stable second. Mike in third, and the three are getting away from the rest of the pack, which is headed by Darren Parker in fourth now. So Darren's ahead of Kieran, who's ahead of Sam, who's ahead of Craig. Craig returning after missing out in Spa, and the only Ford in here for Team Craig's. Oh, bit of a pass there for Craig. Oh, there's contact. Oh, there's Craig. He's been spun out by, looks like, Mark Nichol, and Craig has had to spin back round. It's pushed him all the way down to the back of the grid, and that's a real shame for Craig then. Luckily not in it for the title, but he'll be pretty annoyed by that contact. Mark probably couldn't avoid it, probably didn't see him till the last minute. Unfortunately, there was a bit of a tussle there with Kieran, meant that Craig ran wide. But let's have a little look at the replay on that. On board with Craig then, let's see how it looked with Craig. Having a fight with Sam, and then brakes way too hard into the hairpin, and as he comes back on, bang. Let's have a look at Mark here then, on board with him, and as we see, there is Craig ahead, and he goes wide with Kieran, and then just comes back on the track, unfortunately, which I think maybe surprised Mark there. So Mark is up to 8th now, just behind Gary here, who has openly said he's struggling around Brands with this Subaru. Hopefully this is a good testing base for both Gary and Mark, who have been in this for 2 events for next season. Hopefully they can do a full season and fight for the Independence title. There's very little yet in terms of rumours of where the teams will be, whether anyone will be teaming up, whether people will return, whether they will change cars. It'll all come to fruition in a few weeks' time for season 2. So Josh now has been overtaken by Darren and Sam, so Josh must have made a mistake somewhere down the line, which is a little bit shaky for Josh, who really needs to get the points and wrap up the Independence title in the first few races. Callum is the next best contender, but Callum is struggling near the back of the grid at the moment, and further from that is Mike, who unfortunately missed the first race, so he lost the points there. He could score well, but I don't think he'd be able to win the title. So Josh is now on the inside, side by side with Darren, and as they go round the first corner, Josh takes it back again. Should be fairly easy though. Josh has got the softs on, and the 2 Parker boys have got the hard tyres on. Again, a very similar system for getting the tyres out of the way. The first race, it's worked well for them all season. There's Kieran, has lost the position there to Gary. So he runs a little bit wide. So I believe Kieran is also on the hard tyres. Let's see how Gary does round here. He's running wide. A lot of the guys have said that the narrow nature of the track here at Brands Hatch means that any mistake, oh, just like that, you get a tyre on the grass and you're nearly spinning out, it could ruin your race. So Kieran down in 7th at the moment. Hopefully he can build up some momentum to get past Gary. So the two Parker boys again, 3rd and 4th now, and actually ahead of Josh yet again. So Josh is making more mistakes somewhere down the line. Let's have a look further up. Here's Tom and there's Mike. Tom looks comfortable so far in the lead, but can't take it for granted. He's on the soft, so it's an easy position to be in at the moment, but we'll have to take those hard at some point. This is really good for Mike though. He's already been on the podium before, never had a win, so again, good potential for next season. He could even take a win today if he's got the ability to hold on. If Tom makes a mistake, could take a win. Further down then, there's Josh having to make up those positions yet again because of another mistake he made. So Josh is behind Darren now and is looking. Oh, a little bit of a tap there. Darren's not made it easy for Josh, and whoa, Darren goes a little bit wide. Just needs to be careful. Oh, and a little love tap back from Darren there, and actually has allowed Sam to get past, so no love lost there. Josh is struggling a little bit around here. Should be finding it fairly easy to get past the two Parker Racing Renaults, but it's not quite how it's going so far. With Gary Black in the background making an appearance, he could potentially take advantage of what's going on here. The battle's slowing the guys down. Whoa, whoa! That's a mistake there by Sam. He's lost it. So, luckily, he only went into the wall slightly. He didn't spin, so that's put him behind Darren, but it's another position lost. That could affect the overall championship title by a few points. Everything counts. Let's have another little look at that spin then from Sam and see what happens and where he gets his wheels on the grass. Let's have a little look where Sam made the mistake then. As he comes around the first bend, he's got his eyes on Josh. I think he goes a little bit wide out of the exit somewhere. And there it is, gets the wheel on the grass, nearly loses it into the wall. Really lucky to get away with that, not to do anything further than that. On board then, let's have a little look. Yeah, just a tap on the grass. You see him wrestle with the steering wheel to get it back into control. So Sam now needing to make up for those lost points, see if he can get past Darren again. This puts Darren in a good position to gain more points than Sam. Obviously not quite on Tom yet, but it's a different story for hards and softs. So Tom will then have to do the same and lose the points potentially when he takes the hards, and the Parker boys will obviously be on their softs. Let's have a look further down. Here's Gary catching up there to the Renaults now. So Gary could make up some more positions, especially if Sam makes another mistake. It's easily done. Looking pretty quick now, Gary. I think he's got a hold of his Subaru a little bit more. Cutting across that grass a little bit. Kieran's still in 7th. Craig is in 8th. Mark is in 9th, and then Callum is really struggling around here in that Subaru, which is a shame really, because Callum, as much as he was an outsider in the independents, would have been good to see him fight a bit more for that title, but maybe Brands Hatch isn't his strong point. Keeping up with Tom then. 8 laps, nearly 9 laps, sorry, 8 laps pretty much done, as he goes on to lap 9 around the last bend here. And is quite ahead of Mike. There's Mike as he comes round. So Mike is still within some distance of Tom, and as you can see that Tom is just coming back down the other side of the hairpin. Whoa, drifting Mike. Likes that rear end kicking out in that Mustang. So Josh has managed to get himself stable and keep that 3rd place again. It could have been a 2nd, or even best, it could have been a fight for the lead if Josh had not made those silly mistakes, but it's still not the worst case scenario. This is going to mean even better one hand on the independence title for season 1 in the Zeta Racing Renault Megane. So Gary Black is still on the back of Sam here, not quite managed to quite get past him just yet. Now this is a mixture of Sam winning the championship but on hard tyres, and Gary on the soft tyres but struggling with the Subaru. Makes them fairly equal. Further down, Craig is now catching up with Kieran. Could potentially pass him. And as you can see, Craig already showing his intentions. Hopefully he can build up and overtake somewhere down the line. It is difficult to overtake here at Brands, and it's almost a big risk. As you see Kieran struggling around that corner there. He's managed to keep it going, but you can see where Craig is now caught up. But Kieran isn't letting Craig catch too quick. Oh, as I say that, Kieran's off the track. And just like that, as I said earlier, all it takes is a few wheels, not even just the one wheel, and it ruins your race here. So the Mustang goes ahead of the Subaru. Kieran is knocked down to 8th, and Craig goes up to 7th. Can Kieran catch back up and take that 7th place back again Further on, we've got a good battle here still going, as Darren almost drifts round the hairpin. Gary still on the back of Sam here, but not quite catching him yet. As you can see, he's very similar position to what he was beforehand. Probably finding it frustrating that he can't quite just catch him. And he's going wide a little bit there. Having a tough time with that Subaru. Maybe the setup's not quite right for this circuit. But a good attempt, and it'll be a good 6th position for Gary after really struggling with qualifying. Qualified almost at the back of the grid. So Josh now, can he catch up to Mike? And can Mike catch up to Tom? Three laps left to go as Tom goes round, and Tom's got now a back marker in the form of Callum to overtake, so Callum will need to let Tom pass, as he does. That's out of the racing line. I think Callum was off the circuit a little bit. This looks like a comfortable lead and a potential comfortable win for Tom, with only 2 laps to go as he comes around for the final bend. 2 to go then as he crosses the line. And Mike staying well within 2nd position, as here is Josh. Coming across. So a little bit of a quiet race, this one. Seems quite processional, not much going on at the moment. Positions are staying the same. Darren's still ahead of Sam, Sam's still ahead of Gary. Gary's unable to take the fight to Sam yet. Craig is quite ahead of Kieran now. Kieran unable to get that position back after losing it after going off on the grass. And then obviously further down, Mark, I think, must be on the hards, having a race on his own. And then Callum, who's just unable to get the car locked in and set up correctly around here. So Tom's coming round then for the run into the final lap. And this ultimately is what Tom needs. It's roughly between Tom and Sam, with very little points between them. 3 points between Tom and Sam. Let's have a little look at the potential points. So Sam is currently on 136, Tom is on 133, Darren is on 126. With a double points offering, this is going to be a 40-point haul for Tom. Darren and Sam will get something a little bit smaller. For 4th is 26 and 5th is 22. So that will roughly put Tom on 174 after including the fastest lap and the qualifying on pole. And then Sam will be on 158 and Darren on 152, so it'll be close still between the two Renaults. Tom will be quite far ahead, but that's obviously because of the double points, and we imagine it'll be the same for the two Renaults. But for now, Tom comes across the line to take the win nice and easily, ahead of Mike Kuipers, who's going to come across to take second, and a really good performance there from Mike in the independents. Josh coming across for third, and then we wait for the two Renaults of Darren and Sam. Darren takes fourth, Sam takes fifth, Gary takes sixth, Craig will take seventh. Here comes Kieran to take eighth, and further back will be Mark, maybe too far back to finish the race, but he will take ninth, and Callum will take 10th. A straightforward win there for Tom, with Mike coming in second, Josh comes third, Darren is fourth with Sam in fifth, Gary comes sixth with Craig in seventh, Kieran comes down into eighth with Mark in ninth, and Callum comes at the back in 10th.